All right, so for unfortunate reasons, our guest speaker is unable to attend like in person, but we do have him online. And this is who he is. He is actually a medical student at UTMB, and he went to the University of Houston. So I think that he'll be able to give you guys great insight if you guys are pre-med. And then those are some of his other just things about him, what he's doing right now. And with that being said, I guess we'll get him on here so you guys can hear from him, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end.
I could just give like a brief intro about myself. Y'all are muted, so I don't know if there are any questions, but while then I can just talk about my path. So my name is Sheheryar Ali. I'm right now a first year med student at UTMB. I'm doing my MD MPH, which is a master's in public health, along with my MD degree. As Ali mentioned, I used to go to the University of Houston. I was there from 2018 till about like 2022 is when I graduated. I was a finance major, so I went to the CT Bauer College of Business. And fun fact was I actually was a post-bacc student as well, like a super senior. So I took post-bacc classes in 2023 around that time to finish up the rest of my pre-med prereqs. And honestly, U of H is a good spot to be at for being pre-med. There's a bunch of people here, and like my advice overall, just generally, is it's while it's competitive, like honestly, the best way to get in is by helping each other out. So just make sure like you guys join clubs like this, like get well connected with other people. Make sure y'all are like tapped in with each other to know what opportunities there are. Don't gatekeep them because like it's not gonna help you. Honestly, like just try to like spread the word out there whenever y'all do find opportunities and do whatever's interesting for you. So like as I said, I was a finance mate. I did graduate with a finance degree. So I just found a way to tie in like business with healthcare. So I found like niche opportunities. So I did an internship at like a venture capital firm where they only invested in medical technologies. Then I worked full time as a software consultant at Oracle. And over there, I only worked with healthcare and life science companies. So even though I wasn't doing anything, I guess like medical or clinically with patients, I still had like a cohesive theme throughout my whole story. And that's one thing that I would really recommend is kind of ideally you guys do whatever y'all are interested in because it's going to show in all your activities. But if you are like artificially like creating a narrative, which is fine, just make sure y'all have like a good understanding of what your theme is and how you want to be remembered as an applicant when applying to graduate schools and programs. And just make sure that it shows a good story overall, is what I would recommend. And do y'all have any questions for me about like any of my journey? It could be classes at U of H. Like I said, I finished in 2023, so it hasn't been that long. If y'all need upper level bio electives, I can tell y'all. I can just go start right now. I recommend neuroscience with Dr. I believe it was Dr. Z. Um, that was a really good class. Human genetics is fire. It's such a chill class, and she was the one that wrote my rec letter as well. And I didn't know her that well. I sent out like an email asking for a rec letter, and she was super kind and like helping me write that and writing it for me, which is awesome. So I would do human genetics. I would do neuroscience, endocrinology with Dr. Warner. I don't know if she's still teaching, but that's an interesting class. You can get an A in it. It's just she's a little bit of a character in a I guess in a good way, but if y'all want the A's, which is all that we care about, honestly, I would recommend taking that class. And another class that I would recommend if y'all had to take one more upper bio elective would be cell bio, and that's with Dr. Rhea. So those are like the or four classes that y'all can do, which people normally score A's on. So that way y'all can like fulfill the upper level bio electives that y'all need. And for biochem, if y'all need a professor, I don't know if she still teaches, but I took her in 2023. I don't I'm trying to remember the name, but I feel like it was Dr. Wang, or I could be tripping, but I know like she was a really chill bio professor. Our exams were take home, which I never heard of before. So like if y'all need someone for Biochem 1, look for that. But yeah, I guess I'll stop rambling and ranting. And I'll let y'all ask me questions and then I can answer.
Wait, can you hear us right now?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions, let Ali know, and then since he's close to the
Or they
speaker.
can just say it. And
Okay.
If he can't hear, I'll just.
Okay, let's do that.
Can we get his stats for application, like GPA and
Yeah,
MCAT scores?
yeah. Okay. So we have a question. Someone's asking. They're asking like your stats. Like, I mean, I don't know if you want to give your number or you want to just say like high GPA, lower, mid. Like, it's up to you, I guess.
Oh no, I'll be straight up, dude. No worries. As long as they're not asking for like my social security and stuff, like I'll be fine. But so my GPA, like it was a little shaky, I'm not gonna lie. So I finished off with about like a 3.7, and my MCAT. And okay, shaky. The only reason I say shaky is because no, I saw y'all in the front. Okay, the only reason I say shaky. No, the only reason I said shaky was because my science GPA was like like I was a business major, right? So like y'all probably heard the memes, like we just be messing around in PowerPoint, changing the font and stuff. Like it's true. So like my GPA was like inflated, if that made sense. My science GPA was a bit lower. It was closer to like a 3.5, 3.4. So that's why I was saying like take with a grain of salt. And the MCAT was, I'd say, like solid, like it was a 5.10. Some of my sub scores are really high, which is awesome for me. Like I think like Chem Phys and Cars I was really good at, and I actually tutor Cars now. If y'all are not gonna, I'm just gonna plug myself here. But like if y'all are looking for like Cars tutoring, like hit me up. I tutor people. So yeah. I don't know if that answers anything else. If y'all wanted like any more info, yeah, let me know.
I actually have a question. Or wait, we got it.
I wanted to ask you, I saw that you're in an MD PhD program, so why did you wanted to choose the PhD as well?
Okay, so I didn't do the PhD because I'm not that smart. So the PhD is like they're the double doctors, right? So their degree, their program takes about like 7 years, 8 years, um, including med school. I'm doing the MPH, which is the Masters in Public Health. And the reason I'm doing that is because one, at UTMB, you can get it done in 4 years. So it's like, why not? Like if you can do an extra degree, like I don't see a problem in it. Two, for me personally, I wanted to learn about like the public health aspects because they're the real upstream drivers of healthcare. As a doctor, physician, or a healthcare worker, like you're probably just gonna fix problems after they present, but you can't do anything systematically to change anything. And so like I think public health is a good way to look in it, like approach problems from a different lens that you can go out in your community and find ways to make a change without directly interacting with patients. And lastly, honestly, like it's all about like branding and stuff. So like I said, I majored in finance, and to me, it's like if you're gonna get a degree, kind of venture out and get something different, if possible, because like at the end of the day, they're just qualifications behind your. Even if you're never gonna use it, like it's a good way to show that you're like somewhat qualified about it. So if you can spread them out in different things and you have the time to do it, I don't see a problem in it as long as they're like diversified.
I was gonna mention, we forgot to say, I guess, that you like, correct me if I'm wrong, like UH Med School like offered you like a full ride, right? I was gonna say like, I was gonna ask, what do you think got you that scholarship from there? And like, do you think it's anything special or unique that you did on your application to get that?
Yeah. Yeah, so they did, and I honestly think a lot of it comes down to your writing and your storytelling, what I was mentioning earlier. Um, so the way you think about it is like you're create and a reviewer, when someone's reviewing your med school app, like they're only gonna look at it for at max like 10 minutes, like, and that's if they're really doing their job and no one does their job anymore, really, right? Like we're all trying to like go on to the next thing. And so what you want to remember is like your application, you're trying to present yourself as like a good candidate, obviously, and your grades and your scores should do that, but also you want to be memorable. So have like a theme. So my theme was like I was the business finance guy going to med school. So I found ways to incorporate that throughout my application. I talked about how having this like business background can help me look at healthcare from a new lens. I can try to find ways to lower costs, which can help, I don't know, like help patients because they won't have to pay as much. That's also it can. So I would just look into having a narrative and having like a small string attaching everything together. And if you do that, I feel like you'll be golden, honestly. And networking is a big thing. So the summer before I got accepted into med school, I did a summer research program at the College of Medicine. And it was over there, like I just shook a bunch of people's hands, like, exchange names, numbers. And honestly, I felt like because the school was so small and up and coming, they all like they had a personal relationship with me, and I'm sure that played a role in at least determining who gets scholarships. I'm sure my name popped up and they had I guess, a face to match the name. So yeah.
When you found research positions, did you just cold email your professors, or did you already have a connection with them before you did?
That's a good question. So like I didn't do any research, I'm not gonna lie. So I was a finance major. So every time I tried applying for like research positions, like I felt like my application got thrown to the side because they're like, bro, what is this guy doing applying for like a research lab? Like, shouldn't he be like doing something else, like applying for other internships? So I didn't have like the best luck. And honestly, I wish I could ask you questions. In med school, I do cold email, but I feel like professors are a lot more receptive. I know the few times I did that at U of H, it was tough. But honestly, if you have like a friend or a buddy in a research lab, I would just ask them like, hey, what did you do? And kind of go off of there. Like I said earlier, like join these orgs, talk to people that are tapped in with research, see how they got involved. And honestly, like if they're chill, like they should probably like put you on. And if not, at least they'll be able to tell you about like what they did and you can kind of apply that to other opportunities.
What are some things you wish you knew, or like one main thing you knew before doing your med school interviews?
Okay, that's a good question. So med school interviews, I would say like frame your mind, like, okay, have a good mindset going into it. So if you get an interview, to me personally, like it means the school is cool with your stats, right? Like they're cool with all your flaws that they saw on paper. Like if you have an F or like for example, or like you have like a lower GPA or a lower MCAT and you're like scared about it, like don't be, because they wouldn't have given you the interview. At this point, when you go to the interview, it's all about like a personality match, as well as making sure you match with like their mission and you vibe with like the students and the interviewers. So don't let any past like hurdles or like any like insecurities that you might have in your application kind of like psych you out, because you did 50% of the battle. Now for the interview, what I would say is just be yourself and be super personable. One thing I noticed was a lot of people, I don't know why, but people just freeze up and then they stop acting like people and they start giving weird responses. And it's super obvious to the interviewer as well, like when someone's nervous and also like when it's like a rehearsed like response. So I would just know, like I have a few like bullet points in terms of like if someone's gonna ask certain questions, like they always ask, tell me a time you dealt with conflict, right? Like don't have the whole thing memorized, but think of like a few scenarios that you have. And like I said, if you have a theme, like for me, I was like the business medicine person, right? So like my answer for that was like, oh, let me talk about something in my supply chain management class, or let me talk about a conflict I had during my internship. So like I answered it, but also like gave my own little, I guess like my own little touch to it so they can remember me as that person of that theme.
What made you like choose UTMB over like UH or like other med schools and stuff?
Yeah, dude, I was hella close going to U of H because like I was from there, right? Like I was born and raised in Houston. Family's over there. Undergrad was there. They gave good money too, right? So like it was really tough to say no. Honestly, I just called a bunch of like my like doctor mentors and asked them their opinions. And this isn't any knock on U of H. It was just at the time when I was trying to choose my med schools, they didn't have a match list because they were still pretty new. So it was too much of a risk, especially say if I wanted to go into something competitive like surgery or I don't know, like orthopedics. I like whatever it is, it would be really tough to know I could have gotten to another program that was more established. Um And so that was honestly the reason why I just went with UTMB. I just couldn't see any stats of where the student outcomes were, like for the graduating class. And I stuck with UTMB. I'm super happy with it. I mean, it's like we're a super laid back school, honestly. Like we're pass fail. So like if you get like people say C's get degrees, but you actually get them here. Like you'll just get a P on your transcript, and there's no way to denote if you got an A, B, or C. Everyone's super like nice and helping because all of our grades are pass fail, so you're not in like competition with each other because the benchmark is just a 70. Um, Galveston, it's Galveston, right? Like I'm not gonna go and hype it up. Like y'all probably seen Charles Barkley dog it. Like it is what it is, right? Like, but it's cool. We got a beach. We're close enough to Houston, and that's all I can say. So it's pretty chill.
You said that you got a pretty good MCAT score. Can you tell us like what was your strategy to get there?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So like MCAT, I would say first like make sure you're like locked in while doing it. The MCAT, like I was so on and off of it. It was a mess. Like I didn't plan anything properly. I just assumed it was like, oh, it's one of those tests. I'll cram it for a month and I'll be fine. And like, I don't know, one thing led to another and like boom, I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna be turning like whatever it is. Like I just realized I wish I would have planned better. But in terms of strategies, what I would do is I would focus less on content review. A lot of people talk about it and it makes sense to focus on content review, but honestly, get into questions. Um, if you have 3 months, right, to study, like 3 full months, I would do 1 month fully of content review. Use the Kaplan books. Don't buy no course. They're all I mean, they're all like they're just gonna take your money, bro. Like it's not worth it. So like go get Kaplan. Like there's some y'all can find online textbooks for it. Just study those. If y'all are Anki people, do Anki. It works. I hate it. I'm literally doing it right now, but it works. So I would recommend doing Anki. Get UWorld. UWorld is fire. Don't worry about the percentages. They're gonna look like trash. That's okay. That's not going to your med schools. So don't stress about those scores. I would just say learn from the UWorld that you do and like do not care about those scores. And another tip is for cars. Okay, I would say like from the get-go, just use double AMC material for cars. Like I know people use Jack Weston and like if you're gonna take the test, I would just do one true like AAMC passage a day if you're like gearing up for it and it's within like 3 months and not even bother touching any like third-party cars daily practice because the way they ask questions are much different than I think Jack Weston and everything else. They do a good job, but it's much different.
Did you take any summer classes? I mean,
Oh,
like classes at community colleges? Because I was about to take physics too, and I just didn't know if it would like dig me as a applicant.
No, so that's a good question. I was scared of it too. Like, so I did business pre-med and I tried squeezing everything in 4 years, which like I wasn't able to do completely, which is why I did my post-bacc year. But in trying to do that, I took a lot of summer classes. So most of all my labs were actually done over the summer. So I did all my physics labs over the summer. I did all my bio labs, chem labs. Yeah, I did them all in the summer and it was never talked about at all. So I wouldn't worry about it, to be honest. The only thing I would say about the summer is so it might get a little difficult depending on which classes you might take, but I don't think it should ding you if you take something in the summer versus in the semester.
What about like community colleges? What if you take it there?
Okay, so for community college, what kind of class is it? Is it like a prerequisite or is it like a random class that you need to like complete your degree?
Physics too.
Wait, hello? Wait, can you say that again? Sorry.
Physics too. She's asking about physics too.
Oh, physics too? Okay. Dude, honestly, okay, one class won't kill you. If you can avoid it, avoid it. And like if you're scared of getting a B at like U of H, don't be, like, do not be, like, trust me, like a B will not be like the end of your existence, regardless of what like everyone makes it out to be. Um, I guess if you're trying to prevent yourself from getting a C, then I would say go take it at community college. But honestly, if you can get a B here, I would just do it here, just to avoid any like questions or pitfalls, perhaps. But if it's just to get an A, you can do it, right? But if your GPA is solid enough and you can afford a B, I would just take it here, honestly.
I don't have a lot of shadowing because I currently have a job right now that is involved in healthcare. Is that good enough, or do I actually need shadowing hours?
No, that's a good question. What do you do like for your clinical job?
I'm a hospital pharmacy technician.
Are you like patient face or what school are you applying to?
I'm not sure yet. I'll figure that one out.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I would say I mean I can only speak for like med schools, but the thing I would say is if I were you and I was applying to med school, I would keep your job, because one, it pays the bills, right? And like two, it's gonna be good experience. But I would reach out to some physicians to shadow, only because for med school uh, recommendation letters, I would want a physician to write at least one. And so at least shadowing kind of put your foot in the door, and then you can be like, like, hey, I shadowed you a few times. Like, you mind like writing me a letter for med school? And most of the time they'll say yeah, as long as you ask like good questions, you're on time. And I think it would be good to have some shadowing experience. But if you can't get that, and say instead of like working as a pharm tech, if you were maybe working as like a medical assistant where you are interacting with patients, then you might not need as much shadowing hours because you are working with patients. But I would get the shadowing hours so you can understand the role of like a provider, I guess, to keep it broad. Yeah.
I have a question also about recommendation letters, because right now I'm a junior going to be senior next semester, and I think that I messed up with my classes because I just started to take like 3,000 classes, like advanced classes, and I don't really have like a relationship with professors, so I don't know how to fix that, to be honest, because it's not like I have questions to go to office hours, and I don't want to go there just to say, hey, what's up?
Yeah, no, okay, so I was in the same boat as you. Like I said, I was like I wasn't I was really more focused on like business stuff, and then like the pre-med stuff was kind of second, honestly speaking. So I didn't care to like reach out and like keep in touch with my professors. Honestly, just look at the professors you got an A in, and you would just have to cold email, honestly, which is why I said human genetics was one of the professors I cold email, and she hit me up really quick and was super nice. And the class was really easy. But for you, I would just go look at your list of classes where you did get an A. Just introduce yourself briefly, say, hi, my name is blah, blah. I got an A in your class. I did X, Y, and Z. Literally, I mean, like you can say hypothetically, like I created study groups to get an A in your class. Like you can kind of hype yourself up a bit, and like, rinse and repeat with like all the other classes, like all the other professors you got an A in. And someone should like take the bait, honestly.
What's the most interesting thing you did for your extracurriculars when you applied?
So that's a great question. For me, the one extracurricular that came up a lot, I was working full time at Oracle as a software consultant. So that was the one sort of like X factor, like one sort of thing that stood out and that was often talked about. And a lot of the times with your most unique extracurriculars, they're going to try to find a way to see how you can bridge it into medicine, right? So one, I talked about like working in corporate, talked about how it developed my professional skills, working with like a multidisciplinary team. So I worked with software engineers, data developers, managers, account executives, and obviously clients. And then in terms of like applying that to being a doctor, I just talked about how like the healthcare team is also super diverse. And working in this professional role, I was able to work with so many different people doing different jobs, different backgrounds, and I'd be able to have that same approach coming into a healthcare team. And then for Like the specifics of it, I talked about how technology can be used to help alleviate, I guess, any, or it can help speed up any medical processes. And just said like, oh, this background is super cool. I hope I can apply to med schools, maybe find ways to like improve any clinical inefficiencies using tech and stuff. And yeah, that's what I said. And I would just say own up to your unique experience, just and find a way to tie it in. It doesn't have to be like a full-fledged tie-in, but even like a personality thing, or if it taught you like a lot of athletes, or if you played sports, you can just say how it taught you like dedication and to stay resilient and determination, and how you can apply that in med school as well.
What is your life like in med school? Like, how often do you have exams? How actually hard is it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Okay, that's a good question. And this is where you should like research your school entirely, because like I said, like we have the saying here, but C's actually get MDs at UTMB, and it's so nice because so I would look at when you're applying for schools, look if their curriculum is pass fail or if it's graded. If it's pass fail, it'll make your life so much easier and you'll actually have a life outside of school. So I'm not the most diligent study person. I like to do things outside of school. I get as much as I can done. So I might study maybe like 3 hours every day, like max. If it's like test days, I'll like ramp up. But I guess med school has been pretty chill. We have exams like once every 3 to 4 weeks, I'll say, right? And then we have quizzes every single week. And so like you're always constantly studying for the next thing. So even if you are a procrastinator, because you have those quizzes built in, like you have to study for those. And then before you know it, like, oh shoot, a midterm's up or an exam's up or like a final's up. And like you've already kind of been studying for it. So it makes cramming even easier. Yeah, so it hasn't been bad. I'd say like to me, the first class was an adjustment. And that's only because I think a lot of y'all are true science majors, which is good. I like I said, dude, business school is like it's very chill. And so like my first class was definitely like a huge wake-up call to me, but I'm sure y'all would be fine, honestly.
What study method do you use, or do you use, and also while in your undergraduate, like what you use then?
Yeah, dude. So undergrad, you probably wouldn't want to ask me about my study techniques because, like I said, dude, like business majors, I'd wake up the morning of, all right, let's open the PowerPoint and like let's just read and cram for it. Um, and then in terms of, I guess I would say undergrad, my studying was super like I would just cram, I'd wake up, kind of study, and like, all right, here we go. For med school, I try to keep up with like content every single day. And then I try to find ways to review it or like recall it. So if I can go back in time, what I would do is like for Bean's class, right? Like for Orgo, if I were to redo that, I would do problems like every single day, like maybe like 1 or 2 problems every day. And I'm telling myself that, and I know I probably wouldn't, but that's just I know what I should do and I know it works, and that's what I do in med school. I basically learn something new every day. Then the next day I review what I learned yesterday, throw on new content the day of, and then rinse and repeat. So you're always learning something new, but you're like reviewing what you learned the days before, and then yeah, it just builds up. And that's where Anki comes in really clutch because it'll force you to kind of keep up with that method.
I have a question. So I was gonna ask, do you pre-match at any schools, and what was your like ranking list like? And also, if you could like very briefly explain like for those who don't know like the pre-match and like match system for Texas schools.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. So I'll start off explaining how it works. So in Texas, we have this one application called TMDSAS. It's super clutch because you have a one-time fee and you can apply to hella schools, right? Like honestly, almost all the Texas schools, which saves you a lot of money. And what ends up happening is it's kind of like you would interview at the schools. Say you interview at 5 schools, right? And what ends up happening is if they like you, they'll send you an offer letter or like a pre-match offer before the actual match day. So there's a day, I think it's like in mid-March, where you have to rank all the schools you interviewed from one being the best and then the last one, I guess, being the worst. And you'll still get into whichever was the first on your list to accept you, if that makes sense. So say you interviewed at 5 schools and like number 3 was the school that said yes to you, you're going to number 3. But say school number 2, you also decided to accept you, and school number 3 also decided to accept you, because school number 2 is on top of your ranking, you're going to school number 2. And you would never know if you got into school number 3 or not, but why does it matter, right? Like, because you already had your rankings. I don't know if that made any sense, but I hope it did. And for me, I interviewed for TMDSAS, I interviewed at about 4 schools, and I did end up getting about like 4 pre-matches as well. So the interviews worked out really well. And I would say the interview is all about just being personable. Like if you have a blunder here and there, like don't trip about it. Like honestly, just kind of like laugh at yourself, keep on going. I honestly feel like we didn't talk a lot in the interview about any specific like stats or like explain this grade, that grade, and they definitely could have. We just talked about like, all right, what are your interests? Like, oh, what do you like? And most of the time, you just try to find common ground with your interviewer. And you just kind of vibe, I guess, just chill, and like it goes well. I don't know. I don't know if that was a really terrible advice, but honestly, I really do think it's just about like connecting with your interviewer, and then from there they'll pick up on like your personality as to why you'd be a good doctor. As long as you're, I think, as honestly, as long as you're not weird, like you should be good.
I know you're at UTMB, but like, what would be your top 5 med schools in Texas?
Yeah, dude. I'll tell you. So personally speaking, I know the schools that I would want to go to. I would say UT Southwestern. They have a great match list, so I would definitely have them. UT Southwestern is like a great school, great research program. Only caveat is it is ultra competitive within the school. So like the school culture is a little cutthroat, but everyone matches well, so it makes sense, right? BCM, obviously, like Baylor's Baylor, right? I don't think I have to talk more about why Baylor is there, and their pass fail all the way through as well, including your clinicals, which is awesome. So not just like your med school is split up into didactics or like preclinicals and clinicals. Preclinicals are essentially just classes, and clinicals are when you go on the clinic and do your rotations. Some schools, like my school, we're pass fail only for the preclinicals. But for clinicals, we have a tiered grading system where it's like honors, high pass, pass, fail. Baylor has pass fail all throughout, which is really nice and like allows you to grow without like beating yourself up too much. So they would be up there. I like Dell a lot, like UT Austin's program, and that's because they give you a gap year or like a growth. They give you a growth year. You essentially can get a degree over there, as well, but like their schools are nicer. Like me personally, I would have loved to get their MBA from UT Austin because they have a great program, and you can get that in about 4 years. And they're always doing a bunch of cool, innovative stuff at Dell, and it's developing really quickly. So that's a school I really wish I would have gotten into. I would put UTMB over McGovern, and it's a bit dicey, and I wouldn't have before, but I was talking to my friends in McGovern, and they have graded curriculums, and our match list is relatively similar. So like honestly, I wouldn't want to have the stress of caring about if I got an A or a B on a test. If I'm gonna match somewhere similarly, I really enjoy like how much free time we have at UTMB. I do think it's really chill. And then from there, I mean, what other schools are left? I would say like Texas, what is it? Texas Tech. Texas Techs are good. UH did pretty solid in their match as well, so you would have to give them consideration. And there's TCOM. TCOM's a good, but you can't go wrong with honestly the Texas programs. But those are like my main top 5 rankings if I had to explain them.
When you were an undergrad, did you ever experience like the pre-med toxicity, and how did you handle it?
I stayed away from y'all. Like I said, I was a finance major, so I was like, I would hear something. I would only realize until I would be outside of CASA. And you know that feeling, especially the one at the gym. That gym, that old gym, and like everyone is stressing and sitting on the ground like, oh no, bro, like this is not, I can like that is when I noticed people are like, yeah, what did you get? So like I wasn't like honestly as tapped in with like pre-med people as much as I should have, and I saw the toxicity, like at least I'd hear about it, but I wasn't completely surrounded by it. Um, yeah, so like I was just chilling. Like I said, I was a finance major. We were just having fun. So I didn't see all of it. I just went into my like my pre-med classes, just did what I had to do, and then I dipped before like everyone started talking about like grades or like research. I'm like, nope, nope, nope. I'm out of here. I'm gonna feel bad about myself. So yeah.
Did you apply to or consider any DO schools? And if so, why did you prefer MD?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I did apply to DO schools, so I was really strategic with my school list. I had to like be honest about my stats. So and also as a caveat, in Texas for okay, if you're a Texas resident and you want to apply for MD schools out of state, it's a little difficult because they like the MD schools outside of Texas, and this could be like some Reddit BS like that I read, but like from what I've heard, they essentially shield against Texas residents, and the reason they do that is because most of the time our tuition is so good in Texas for for med school, like it's insane. Like my tuition's about 25K a year. And if you go, and UTMB is I think the most expensive medical public school in Texas as well. In Texas is like the only, because they have like some sort of bill or law where they have to keep the prices super affordable. No other out of state school will give you that. So when you apply for MD schools out of state, they typically are like, oh, even if our program is much better, like these guys won't come leave Texas because like how can you beat the sticker price of tuition there? Um, so I didn't apply to any schools out of state for MD, but I did apply for DO, and DO schools, I think there's no like some people have a negative stigma about them, but honestly, like I think you're a doctor at the end of the day, regardless of whatever two letters you have like following your name, like DO, MD, you're a doctor. The only reason now, with that being said, why I chose an MD school is I do have to acknowledge it is harder as a DO to match into certain specialties. And I think if you can acknowledge that without necessarily like putting one above the other, and it's just the way it is, you would, it's the reason why I chose an MD school. And so I chose it because strictly I think it would make my life matching a lot easier. And so I chose the MD school, but there's no problems against like DO programs. Like there's a bunch of great programs. Like TCOM is like great. They always do like their match list is really good as well. There's a bunch of other DL programs like I guess out of state, but you would have to do your research because there are a lot. You want to see which ones are like the good programs or not the good programs.
Have you ever experienced, I know that it's your first year, but it's been a year now. And have you ever experienced like imposter syndrome?
Oh yeah, hell yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. I like okay. I think I think there's so many people out here that are so smart. And like dude, I think it's just the background. Like I'm missing so much foundational science coming into classes. I'm like, what are people talking about, dude? Like they'll just be yapping about like glycolysis. Like obviously I know glycolysis. I'm not saying I don't. But like they'll just be yapping about pathways and like I said, I only did my bare minimum prereqs to get into med school. So my all your basic like intro chem bio whatever it is I did all those, did the labs, and I did maybe like 3 additional like upper level classes, and that was it. And they were so spaced out, and like I just studied to study for the MCAT, but like it was in one ear out the other, and then coming into, I'm like, oh god, like I have to actually lock in. So like yeah, I get hit with imposter syndrome, but like you I think now because I'm a year in, like it's like I'm here so far, so I'm like it's working out. So like now it doesn't hit me as much, but early on it was like, oh shoot, like I definitely don't belong with these people. But yeah, I mean you'll figure it out. Everyone can figure it out. Is like the biggest thing. Like you know, it's like sink or swim. Like you'll have to swim, I guess.
I just gonna read our last question.
Oh, You don't have to answer if you're uncomfortable, but can I ask about your financial situation currently?
My financial situation, like what do you mean?
You said it's 25.
Like the IRS is just on the line and stuff. We got tax day coming up next week. Oh,
Because
sorry.
I'm a first gen like college student, so I'm kind of just raw dogging it. That's probably not the right word, but whatever.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
Well, my family doesn't really have thousands to spend per se, and I know that a lot of people have to quit their jobs to study fully for medical school. And so I don't know if like I'll have the right financial backing for it. I just want to be prepared if I don't.
Yeah, okay. That's a good question. Okay, at my school at least, we do have work studies, though it's a little, it is a lot more, like, it's a lot more time, obviously, than if you're a full-time student. I would say there are federal student loans that you can go through as well. So like that's what I'm doing. Honestly, like I have some student loans like from the government and that I'm doing. I'm tutoring part-time, like I mentioned, so like I get some bread from there. In terms of like scholarships, it is a little tough to get scholarships in med school. But the one thing I'll say is they do have grants in Texas. So if you are financially eligible for a grant, they give you about $3,000 a year, right? And that's one thing you can do that I would recommend. I know it's only 3K, it doesn't seem like a lot, but like I said, my tuition is 25, right? So like 25 to 22, and I'm on like out of the public schools, it's the pricier schools. I know like Texas Tech, Lubbock, I think they're like 21 or something. So it's a decent amount of help in my opinion. I would just say go through the student loan route. It should give you enough to cover like your tuition as well as your living costs. And it might get a little tight, but that's the best way to go about it.
All right, well, thank you so much for that and everything. I think that was our last question. We're gonna move on to, okay.
Can I ask one last
One
question?
last question.
Do you have any like solid interest on what do you want to do for like your specialty?
Oh, yeah, I've got the room. Got a class.
What?
Yeah, I've got a class at 7.
I think maybe we were double booked.
Yeah, this has been my class all semester. I don't know why they.
Sorry. Yeah, we were. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, I hate to do that.
No, you're good. Yeah, well,
Maybe you can answer.
maybe answer the question like 50 seconds.
No, right now, I don't know. I think it's like surgery, but we'll see. Work-life balance is like a little shaky with surgery, so maybe something in IM, go with like interventional cards or something procedural for sure.
All right,
Thank you so much.
All right, y'all, take care. Bye.
Yeah.